Roger was a young, energetic ranger who had recently started working in a national park. Since childhood, he had dreamed of a job where he could protect wildlife, and his passion for nature and animals had finally led him here. Each day, Roger looked forward to new adventures and the chance to care for the park's diverse inhabitants. The park where Roger worked was home to a wide range of animal species, but it was particularly known for its thriving population of African lions. With nearly 30 lions roaming the area, Roger felt a profound responsibility for their health and well-being, understanding the delicate balance needed to maintain their natural habitat. One crisp morning, Roger set off in his Jeep to patrol the park's sprawling landscape. The sun had just begun to rise, casting shades of pink and orange across the sky. The fresh, cool air carried the scent of blooming plants, and as Roger drove through the park, he took in the beauty of his surroundings. His route passed through a rocky area that served as one of the Lion Pride's main territories. These rocks were ideal for the lions, offering them shelter, shaded resting spots, and perfect lookout points for hunting. As Roger approached the rocky outcrops, he spotted a group of young lions playing near the edge of a cliff. Their playful jumps and chases brought a smile to his face, but he couldn't help feeling a bit anxious as he watched them. He knew this particular area could be dangerous, especially for young and inexperienced lions. One wrong move, and they could slip from the ledge. Observing closely, Roger decided to stay nearby to ensure their safety. He parked his Jeep at a distance to avoid disturbing them, but kept an eye on their playful antics. One of the young lions, braver and more curious than the rest, ventured dangerously close to the cliff's edge. Roger held his breath, watching the lioness as she carefully inched forward, peering down at the landscape below. At any moment, a gust of wind or a misstep could have serious consequences. Ready to intervene if necessary, Roger observed the young lioness until she turned back, joining her siblings in their games away from the edge. He sighed with relief, grateful that the young lions had returned to a safer spot. The experience reminded Roger of the delicate balance between wildlife protection and allowing animals to grow and learn in their natural environment. He knew he couldn't always intervene, but being present to ensure their safety was part of his role. By the end of his patrol, he felt a renewed sense of purpose, more committed than ever to his role as a guardian of the park. This day marked another chapter in Roger's journey, strengthening his dedication to wildlife protection. His connection to the lions grew deeper, and he was filled with gratitude for the opportunity to watch over such magnificent creatures. Roger's heart leaped as he noticed part of the rocky ledge beginning to crumble beneath the playful lion cubs. The situation was precarious. He could only hope that one of the adult lions would intervene in time. An older lion, sensing the danger, stood up and let out a loud, commanding roar to warn the cubs. However, the young lions, caught up in their playful energy, paid no attention to the calls. Seeing his warning ignored, the older lion moved decisively toward the cubs. His powerful roar finally caught their attention, prompting them to start moving away from the ledge. But the combined weight and movement on the unstable cliff edge was too much. Suddenly, a large section of rock broke off, and one of the cubs lost its footing, slipping over the edge. Roger watched in horror as the young lion tumbled, narrowly managing to catch itself on a lower rock ledge. Its position was dangerous, and without intervention, it was clear the cub would soon fall to the rocks below. Reacting immediately, Roger grabbed his radio and called for backup, describing the emergency situation and requesting urgent assistance. Time was of the essence. The young lion was struggling, its claws barely gripping the rough stone, and Roger knew they had to act fast. Without waiting, Roger jumped into his Jeep and sped toward the cliff. To safely carry out the rescue, he needed to clear the area of the other lions. As he neared the Pride, he began honking his horn and maneuvering the Jeep, hoping the loud noise and movement would scare them back. His plan worked. The lions, startled by the commotion, retreated from the cliffside, allowing Roger to focus on the stranded cub. Roger approached the edge cautiously. The cub's grip was slipping, and Roger could see its claws struggling to hold on. He quickly assessed the situation, thinking through his options. Just as the cub seemed about to lose its hold, backup arrived. Another ranger, equipped with ropes and climbing gear, joined Roger at the cliff's edge. They wasted no time setting up a rescue plan. With the other ranger securing him, Roger carefully descended toward the cub. He spoke in calm tones, hoping to reassure the frightened animal as he reached out to grab hold. The cub's eyes locked onto Roger, and though it was terrified, it held still just long enough for Roger to secure it with a harness. With careful, coordinated movements, Roger and his colleague hoisted the cub back up to safety. The moment it was back on solid ground, the young lion scrambled away, shaken but unharmed. Roger watched, relief washing over him as the cub was welcomed by the other lions who had watched the rescue from a safe distance. The experience left Roger with a renewed respect for the animals he had pledged to protect. As he drove away from the cliff, he felt a deep satisfaction, knowing he had made a real difference that day. The bond between him and the park's lions grew stronger, a testament to his commitment to safeguarding their lives in the wild, no matter the challenges. As the last lion disappeared from sight, Roger jumped out of the jeep and sprinted to the edge of the cliff. Looking down, he saw the young lion, claws frantically gripping the rock, its pitiful sounds echoing off the cliff walls. Roger knew there were only minutes left before the cub's strength would give out entirely. Rushing back to the jeep, Roger grabbed a coil of strong rope from the trunk. As he started unrolling it, he quickly strategized the best way to secure the lion to pull it up safely. Just then, he heard the sound of approaching vehicles. His colleagues had arrived. Without wasting a second, the team sprang into action, following Roger's directions as they set up a system of ropes to begin the rescue. Roger volunteered for the riskiest part of the mission, securing the rope around the lion himself. With ropes anchored and colleagues ready, he edged carefully down to where the cub clung desperately. Lowering the rope with steady hands, Roger approached the trembling lion, which, sensing his intent, displayed no aggression. Its amber eyes were wide, filled with a mix of fear and hope as it gazed up at him. Carefully, Roger managed to loop the rope around the lion's body. At one point, the frightened animal instinctively jerked, nearly losing its hold. Roger spoke to it softly, his calming voice cutting through the tension. Remarkably, the lion seemed to understand, and it steadied itself, allowing him to secure the rope firmly around its body. With one last reassuring pat, Roger gave the signal to his team above. The rangers began to pull, slowly and steadily lifting the lion away from the crumbling ledge. The cub remained calm, its gaze fixed on Roger as it ascended, trusting in the strange rescue unfolding around it. The rangers above worked in sync, the ropes taut as they pulled the cub up inch by inch. When the young lion finally reached the cliff's edge and was pulled to safety, a collective sigh of relief washed over the team. The lion, once freed from the harness, took a moment to find its footing. It looked back at Roger, its eyes conveying an unspoken gratitude, before bolting toward the safety of its pride. The other lions, who had watched the rescue from a safe distance, gathered around, welcoming the young one back with nudges and gentle nuzzles. Roger and his team exchanged smiles, the success of their mission filling them with pride and relief. This daring rescue reaffirmed the ranger's commitment to his work, highlighting the deep connection and respect he felt for these animals. As he gathered the ropes and equipment, Roger couldn't help but feel that this day would stay with him forever, a reminder of the resilience of nature and the impact of compassion in even the wildest of places. The task was daunting. The lion's immense weight, coupled with the unstable cliff surface, made the effort even more challenging. The rangers strained with all their might, each pull lifting the lion incrementally closer to safety. Roger kept encouraging his team, his voice steady and reassuring. He knew that the lion's life depended on their coordinated efforts and that every inch gained was a small victory. After several intense, muscle-burning minutes, the lion's face finally appeared over the edge. With a few more pulls, the exhausted animal was back on solid ground, lying on the grass, breathing heavily but alive. The rangers stepped back, giving it space, all except Roger, who felt an inexplicable urge to stay close. He knelt down beside the lion, meeting its gaze. In that brief moment, a spark of understanding seemed to pass between them, a silent acknowledgement of trust and gratitude. The lion, calm and unthreatened, looked at Roger with what seemed like genuine appreciation. Slowly, Roger reached out and began untying the ropes, his movements careful and respectful. The lion stayed still, allowing Roger to work without any sign of distress or aggression. When the last rope was removed, the animal rose slowly to its feet. It paused, gazing at Roger one last time before releasing a quiet roar, a sound that surprisingly resembled a purr. Then, with a slow and dignified stride, the lion turned and walked back toward its pride. The rangers watched the scene in awe, moved by the unspoken bond that had formed between man and beast. They were astounded by how the wild creature had recognized Roger's role in saving its life and responded with what looked like gratitude. This brief connection left a lasting impression on everyone who witnessed it. After this extraordinary rescue, life in the park returned to its routine. Roger continued his daily duties, yet the memory of that day stayed with him. He often found himself looking out over the rocky cliffs, hoping to catch a glimpse of the lion he had saved. He knew the chances of a close encounter were slim, but deep down, he cherished the thought that somewhere in the park, the lion might remember him too. Months passed, and with the onset of monsoon season, the rangers prepared for the floods, heavy rains, and landslides that threatened the park's wildlife. One morning, under an especially intense downpour, Roger was patrolling his area. His Jeep's wipers struggled to keep up with the torrents of rain as he moved slowly through the park, scanning for animals in distress. Suddenly, Roger spotted a fallen tree ahead. He stopped, concerned about the smaller animals that might have lost their homes. As he stepped out into the rain to investigate, he barely noticed a distant rumble, a sound that quickly grew louder. Before he could react, he saw it, a massive landslide barreling straight toward him. Realizing he wouldn't make it back to his Jeep in time, Roger sprinted to the fallen tree, scrambling up and gripping the trunk as the wave of mud and debris hit. The powerful force nearly tore him away, but he held on with every ounce of strength. When the surge finally subsided, Roger found himself buried under layers of mud, his movements restrained by the weight of debris. A small pocket of air near his face allowed him to breathe, and he knew he had to stay calm if he hoped to survive. Time dragged on, and Roger's hope began to wane.